What happened here is that
But
you've got
there's no
a
definition on it.
501c4 law that people think is confusing, that the folks did not know how to implement.
Okay.
Because it basically says,
So you're saying
if you are
no
involved,
corruption there at all? No.
that's not what I'm
Flat.
saying. That's actually
No, but I want to know what you're saying. You're the leader of the country.
Absolutely.
You're saying no corruption.
No.
None.
No, there were some boneheaded decisions out of a
but
local
no mass
office.
corruption.
Not even mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Talking about the IRS and that scandal, we're back with the panel. George, what about the president's answer? Not even a smidgen.
Well, I remember the president at first saying that the trajectory of this scandal began, this was outrageous. And Lois Lerner, who was at the center of it, the IRS official, terminated her public career and refused to testify because something was bothering her and him. Now we've reached a point where it's just boneheaded decisions, which, amazingly, seem to affect primarily the president's critics. Now, we also have a Democratic senator, a leading Democratic senator, Chuck Schumer, saying we want the IRS to go back at it. I don't know, back at what? Making boneheaded decisions? I don't know what he's supposed to do. Brett, we've had 3 major scandals in the last 40 years. Scandals are a dime a dozen in this town, sexual and financial and all the rest. 3 big ones involving the distortion and abuse of institutions. Watergate, Iran-Contra, and the IRS. The first 2 were ravenously covered by the media. They were Republican presidents' problems. This is not being pursued, and the president knows that, hence his sense of weariness and boredom as he discussed this with Bill O'Reilly.
Kirsten, the retort is often, there have been so many hearings on this. Hearings, like,
yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think it gets to the issue of accountability, which was the other issue that Bill O'Reilly brought up about Kathleen Sebelius. And I think in the IRS situation, there really was no accountability for the boneheadedness at a minimum, right? Even if it wasn't corruption, things were done that weren't legal or weren't, ethical, perhaps. Maybe they weren't illegal, but they weren't ethical. You had the leaking of National Organization for Marriage's, tax information to a rival group. Who's been held accountable for these things? And I don't think that he was pressed on that with Kathleen Sebelius and the Obamacare rollout. And again, it was very similar to the Benghazi exchange because we sort of just petered out with a non-answer where he claimed he held people accountable, but of course no one's ever been held accountable.
Speaking of which, here is the healthcare answer and HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius.
I'm sure that the intent is noble, but I'm a taxpayer, and I'm paying Kathleen Sebelius' salary, and she screwed up, and you're not holding her accountable.
Well, I promise you that we hold everybody up and down the line accountable, but when we're midstream, Bill, that we want to make sure that our main focus is how do we make this thing work so that people are able to sign up, and that's what we've done.
Charles.
I promise you that we're going to hold everybody accountable. I think it goes in the category of the promises. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. That's a whole lot of promises. Look, on Sebelius, he obviously had no answer. No one is held accountable for anything, ever in this administration. But what I found most astonishing is a story in the Washington Post. 22,000 Americans filed an appeal who were signing up for Obamacare. Either they were overcharged, or they got the wrong coverage, or denied it improperly. And here's what the cynicism of this is unbelievable. They make out forms which are sent to an office in Kentucky, which is then scanned into a computer and sent into HHS headquarters here in DC in a computer here that cannot be accessed. It's the ultimate dead letter. It's as if it went to a box in the North Pole. It's sitting there, no one is looking at it. If the Post hadn't run the story, nobody would still know about it. And
let's play the Jay Carney response. And here's what the White House is saying in response to this the Washington Post story.
Of the millions who have applied for coverage, only around 22,000 asked for help by filing an appeal, and we are going to get them help. So we are talking here about a very small percentage of the number of people who have applied for coverage. We believe that many of the issues that caused people to file appeals are left over from when the website was not working well, and many of those problems have since been fixed.
There you go.
I love the way he says small number. The same way when 5 million Americans have their plans canceled. Oh, it's only a 5% or 2% or whatever. Small numbers. The numbers are immaterial. It's the fact that these people are given a pretense of an appeal, and it goes to a computer that can't be accessed. And I love the way he says, oh, we're going to help them. I can assure you, if the Post hadn't run that story, these people would be waiting on the dead letter today and for a year.
This is the so-called back end that is not there.
Well, the Post also says the Obama administration has not made public the fact that the appeal system for the online marketplace is not working. The appeal system evidently doesn't exist. There's a kind of belief in this administration in the magic of words. We wrote it on paper and therefore it must exist. Well, it doesn't exist. It's an iron law of life. When there's no penalty for failure, failures proliferate. Imagine a private sector company. Imagine Southwest Airlines. Some of their thousands of flights every day and customers handled, bags handled. Imagine if they had the same lackadaisical, world-weary response to failure. They'd have failures, but they don't, of course.
Kirsten, quickly, the administration thinks that they can come out of this, that they can get past this every other day story.
Eventually, perhaps, if down the road they hit their targets, they get all the people on the exchanges that they think that they can, if they get the right mix and people have health insurance, then sure, I think all of this will be forgotten.
The official HHS response is, we are working to fully implement the appeal system. To fully implement, it's not partially implemented, it's not faultily implemented, it's not implemented at all because it doesn't exist. And they're pretending, oh, you know, a tweak, and it'll be actually working. This is the definition, dictionary definition of cynicism.
That is it for the panel, but stay